It's time for Ask Mike Mondays. Mike answers one listener's question every week. Here's Michael Becker and Paul Peebles.
Welcome to Ask Mike Mondays. I'm your host, Paul Peebles, national underwriter for Old Capital. Joining me today is the governor of SPI.
Hey, Paul.
Better known as Michael Becker, who has been moved up from mayor of Beckerville to the governor of apartments in Austin, Texas. Welcome, Governor. Thank you for appearing today.
Happy to be here.
So Michael, who, as you know, who's been very busy, he has closed 29 properties, 29 large apartment buildings, just about to close on another large building. When he closes that, he'll have 6,200 units under his belt that he has closed, owned, managed, and sometimes disposes of them when the fruit is ready to be ripe and fall from the tree to give his investors a rate of return on their money. So he's raised over $150 million in capital from limited partners. And so he is the man who went from a banker to an owner of apartment buildings. It's the Michael Becker. Michael, what's going on today?
It's the last call for the Old Capital Conference, the second annual. Keynote speaker, Roger Staubach. We've been beating the drum forever. So I think we have 2-3 days when this thing originally airs to when our Old Capital Conference will be September 13th. For information, tickets, go to oldcapitalpodcast.com. It's last call for tickets. Go to oldcapitalpodcast.com. It's going to be the networking event of the year. So if you guys are serious about this business and want to grow, this is an event you should not miss.
Yeah, these people that we're going to highlight are not going to come to see you. You got to go see them. So jump into Southwest Airlines airplane, come down to Dallas, spend a day or two, because the first day is going to be at AT&T Stadium. Second day is going to be up in Addison, which is just a suburb of Dallas, and you'll have a chance to get to know some of the brokers, do some open houses in some of their locations, whether it's Marcus and Millichap or it's going to be ARA or some of the brokers in the Dallas-Fort Worth. You want to come up and say hello and shake their hands and get to know them personally so they know who you are when you want to put out an LOI. So we had a question from Ask Mike Monday. Let's jump right into it. Mike, when we are considering rebranding our existing apartment complex and changing the name, is there any pitfalls to keep in mind?
Yeah, so rebranding, basically what that means is when you buy a property and you just want to change the name, that's essentially rebranding. So change out all the signage and kind of is how the property operates to the marketplace. So why would you choose to rebrand a property? I think is probably a good place to start. You know, first and foremost, if you're buying a property and it's got a little tougher reputation, maybe the previous ownership group didn't do a good job, operating the deal, and that's one of the main reasons why you like it. You get to the value add you think you can come in and implement. Kind of if you go in and you rebrand the property, it's kind of like hitting a reset button a little bit on the reputation of the asset. And the asset has a certain connotation to the marketplace. So if, that was the old Oaks Apartments and that had a bad name to it and you change it to whatever the new name would be, swap out the monument sign, all the signs on the property, that kind of resets it. You also get to go in into, all the online stuff and hopefully, kind of clear out some of the old reviews and ratings on Yelp and Google and all the online presence, which is becoming more and more critical over the last several years. So those are certainly the reasons why you would do it. Pitfalls, I don't think there's a ton of them. I mean, besides making sure that you get a good quality sign package and making sure you do go and be very thorough online. Make sure, Google Maps, Apple Maps, all those have the new names. So when people search for you, they can find you. Also, Yelp and the Google reviews, making sure that the new name and when people are looking at it, they don't find a whole bunch of ads for the old property. They find the new property name. So those are just some things to do. I'm a big fan of it. Most of the properties I probably have done. I would say certainly over half we've rebranded. Anytime we're going to go in and spend a bunch of money on a monument sign, usually that's when it makes sense to go in and rebrand anyway. So those kind of my thoughts. Is very commonplace.
What do you have to pay these days for a monument sign? And do you always have them lit, or do you just not have them lit, or what? Yeah,
it depends on. You can go real budget if you have a smaller deal and you just want like a 2-post sign with a kind of graphic on it. Couple $1,000, or one of them I think we spent $26,000 on just the monument sign alone, which was double-sided and backlit on a highway, and it was really knocked out. So you kind of go all over the map. And
was that the Boulders deal?
The Boulders deal, yeah.
Yeah, that's a sign that it's as big that you could actually see it from space.
That was the idea, at least. So we wanted to make sure we were not conspicuous. We wanted to be out there and for everyone to see us. So
the previous sign is, if I remember, actually driving by, because it's on a busy highway over in Hearst. you could never see it. Even the lights were turned on, the bulbs were not bright, and you crushed the sign. You had to get permission from the city to put up a brand new sign at kind of, I guess, the same square footage, or did you guys go much?
Yeah,
larger?
it's the same basis footage. My philosophy on signs, I'm a big believer of them. I just mentioned it's real important with their online profile, but some of the best properties that we own just happen to be on major streets. So you get a whole, really large, especially this particular deal's on a highway. So you're having 100,000 plus cars a day go by our property sign. So having a backlit sign, so, really kind of appealing during the day, then at night it's lit up internally and you kind of see it from a far distance away. Those are a good use of money, in my opinion.
Give me an idea. I mean, rebranding and changing the name of the property. What do you guys use really for social media in terms of getting the name and the reputation out there? How do people find you if you're not on a busy street?
Yeah, you got to drive it through online presence. So, apartments.com is kind of one of the 800-pound gorilla for advertising anymore. So certainly that is something that we utilize.
Does that work?
Yeah, it certainly does work at varying degrees depending on the property and the grade. I think the nicer the asset, it works a little bit better. The lower the quality works, the effectiveness maybe isn't quite as high. So you're certainly there. You've got Google. We've done Zillow ads as well.
How about Craigslist?
Yeah, Craigslist. I think that's also a little bit more effective on the lower end than the higher end. Certainly there.
Have you done it in Spanish too?
Yeah, Spanish. So if your area and the demographics lead to Spanish-speaking clientele, certainly advertising in that, and then it's really location by location specific, Paul. I mean, every area is a little bit different. So certainly used to be you put your stuff in Green Sheet, and Green Sheet was more effective in Houston than it was in Dallas. But I haven't heard the Green Sheet in a long time. So these things always evolve, always change. But making sure you're on top of that, we'll do Instagram and Facebook advertising as well. So those are just things that you got to stay on top of, and hopefully the management company you hire has a good marketing department that can be on top of this on an ongoing basis.
Is that something that the management company should take responsibility of putting out weekly ads?
Sure, that's certainly what they're charged with, is to market the property as well as lease it and maintain it and collect all the revenue, pay all the bills. But as a prudent owner, if you're doing your asset management responsibility on a somewhat regular basis, quarterly, semi-annually, you should be doing kind of an audit of what the activities, kind of where the revenue dollars are spent for advertising, and then how is that converting to
traffic. Now, your property management company actually tells you or shows you in part of their reports about how traffic is driven. How big of an impact does that have with you of where dollars are to be spent? Yeah,
that's certainly something we try to take a look at and pay attention to. So if we're spending a bunch of money on one form of advertising and it's not producing any results, then maybe we're just setting that money on fire, and we should really double down on the thing that's working a little bit more. And like I said, every property is a little different depending on the profile of the property and the location. So it's not like a easy fix-all answer. You got to kind of, a little bit of trial and errors on some of these deals.
All right, that's great. So if somebody wanted to get to know you a little bit better and maybe know a little bit more about syndication and investing with SPI and another transaction you guys may have down the road, what's the best way for them to get to know you a little bit better?
Yeah, the easiest way to find out more about what we do is I'm always happy to set up a 10 or 15-minute telephone call with listeners of the podcast. The easiest way is just go to my company's website, which is www.spiadvisor.com. That's SPI like spy, advisor.com. And there's a contact us form. Fill that out, and I'm always happy to have a call set up.
That's great. Mike, thanks for hanging out with us in the podcast. Looking forward to seeing everybody at the Old Capitol event September 13th at AT&T Cowboy Stadium. We will see you then. Again, I'm Paul Peebles. I was Michael Becker. We'll talk to you soon.